my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to crochet our ugly Christmas sweater hat, or you might want to call it our Christmas scrap happy hat, because we made it out of lots of different colors of Christmas yarns. This one has lots of sparkles in it. Now when I do the demo, I'm going to use some solid yarns so you can see the stitches clearly. Okay, we won't be using all the variegated and the sparkle because it can be tricky with the camera. Okay, and so when I'm doing the demo, I'm going to be using still the same medium weight number 4 acrylic yarns, just some solid colors to make it easier for you to see the stitches. Okay, so don't panic. Now this hat is super stretchy. It's made to be loose and comfy. Not quite a slouchy hat, but you can make it a slouch by just adding more repeats and making it longer. You can even make it into a long stocking cap just by continuing the repeats until you like the length and then do the decrease stitches. And of course, we're going to have a floofy pom-pom. This is my favorite pom-pom for this hat. Of course, it's one of my favorite styles of pom-poms. And I'll show you how to make that floofy pom-pom at the end of the video. Now, as far as size, it'll fit 22 to 24 inch heads. Now, if that is too big, you can always go down a hook size or two. And if that is too small and you want to make it bigger, you can always go up a hook size or two. And so as you can see, it's really easy to adjust in sizes because you can just, like I said, change your hook size and add length as needed. All right. Now you can find this complete pattern with lots of fun pictures on my blog. And as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. Well, I bet you're wondering, what is all this mess? Well, for our ugly sweater Christmas hat, or scrap happy Christmas hat in Christmas colors, I pulled out a whole bunch of my leftover sparkle yarns, solid greens and whites, and different variegateds that I have of Christmas colors. There's even some sparkle silver. And we're going to be making this just using some of your leftover Christmas yarns. And you know what? They don't have to be these Christmas colors. You can use any colors that you want, like maybe lime green, pink, and purple, whatever colors that you want, because it doesn't have to be a Christmas hat. You can use this particular pattern as a scrap happy pattern and just use whatever acrylic medium weight number 4 yarns you have on hand. And you can see I used a lot of different ones. Solid green with sparkle. This is variegated red with this bumpy row. We've got some sparkle here. And I did use as much sparkle as I could, even on the white, for this particular hat. But for the demo, when I get you started, I'm going to be using just some solid white and some solid green, maybe some solid red, just so that you can see what we're doing, okay? But please use up all your variegateds and come up with some really cool Christmas hats. I think like I said earlier, the theme of the ugly Christmas sweaters is just so much fun. Now, I'm going to show you at the end of the video, of course, how to make that great big poofy pom-pom that I made. And again, I just took a bunch of my yarns like this, and we put them all together. It's got all different colors in it. And that's the way you'll do your pom-pom as well, using your medium weight number 4 yarns. Okay. Now for the hat, you're going to need about maybe 5.5 ounces. And I'm going to say another ounce or maybe 2, depending on how big you want your pom-pom. But for this hat, I think it's really important you make a super big, fluffy pom-pom. Alrighty, so we're going to stitch up the hat using our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You need a pair of scissors, of course, and a needle for weaving in your ends. Now, when we go to do the pom-pom, it's a good idea to have a nice big pair of scissors because we're going to cut through a lot of yarns, okay? So you might want to grab your bigger Fiskars instead of your little ones in order to cut all that yarn when we make that pom-pom. Now, you can use a pom-pom maker. I have several different ones that I have used. But to be honest, for this type of pom-pom, I just use the palm of my hand. So I'm calling it a palm pom. Just kidding. We're just going to use the palm of our hand and make a great big floofy pom-pom. All right, let's get started. I'm using white for the color of my hat band. You can use whatever color that you would like. And we're going to be starting with 60 foundation double crochets. We're going to be starting at the hat band, work our way up, then we'll decrease some at the top, and then we'll make that big floofy pom-pom. All right, so let's start with our slip knot. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over and go in the 4th chain from the hook. We've made our first chain. Now we'll yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over and go through the next 2. So we've made our chain and our double crochet. Yarn over, go in that chain that we made, pull up a loop, yarn over and only go through that first loop. Then we'll just finish our double crochet. All right, and so we're going to stitch 60 foundation double crochets. Now, one thing to remember, let me finish this one, there we go, is the reason we're using the foundation double crochet is it makes a nice stretchy band for our hat. And when you're counting, make sure you count this chain 3 here at the beginning as your first double crochet. All right, so for the hat band, we're stitching 60 foundation double crochets. And if you've never done this before, it is really quite easy. Just take your time. And it's fun this way because it makes it so much easier to count your stitches, because you're going to count your stitches and not all those chains. All right, so we're going to stitch a total of 60 and count this chain 3, 60 foundation double crochets. I have completed my 60 foundation double crochets. You can see that I marked it with my stitch markers every 10 stitches. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. That's a really easy way to keep track of your stitches without having to keep recounting. All right, so we're going to lay this out. Make sure you don't twist it. Join to that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now you want to make sure that we take this tail of yarn with our needle. We want to make sure that we stitch that together. We don't want a gap in our hat. Alrighty, make sure you do that securely. And then we'll just clip that off. Alrighty, so now we have our band completed for our hat for row 1. 60 foundation crochets. We joined to our chain 3, and then closed up that gap. And you'll notice that it is very stretchy. So what we're going to do is we're going to be alternating a double crochet and a front post double crochet around. So our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So now we're going to front post double crochet around the front post of the stitch. And then we'll stitch a regular double crochet in the next stitch. There we go. And so we're just going to alternate that, working all the way around our hat band. That's going to help it hold shape, give it a little bit of stretch, and make it look super duper cute. Because this is one hat we do want to look super duper cute. All right, so double crochet in the next, front post, double crochet in the next, alternating all the way around our hat band. And again, I'm keeping my hat band all white, but you can do yours in different colors every row if you want to and get a really neat look. Like I said, this hat is basically a scrap happy Christmas hat, or not even Christmas. Do it whatever colors that you want to. It would be fun in lots of fun colors that aren't even Christmas, like I said. Hot pink, lime green, bright yellow, whatever that you want to do. I still think this would be super cute for make hats for everybody in your family and take a fun Christmas photo. All right, so I'm going to continue that around, stitching double crochet, front post, double crochet, double crochet, front post, double crochet, all the way around, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. I have completed row 2, alternating double crochet and front post, double crochet all the way around. All right, so our last stitch was our front post double crochet, and so we're going to join to that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. And so now what we're going to do, so we have a nice sturdy band, is we're going to repeat row 2 for 2 more rows. Okay, so we have our chain 3, which counts as our double crochet. Now we're going to front post around that front post, double crochet in the next, front post, double crochet in the next, alternating double crochets and front post double crochets, which is the same as row 2. So we're going to repeat row 2 for 2 more rows. I have completed row 3 and row 4, and you can see how it makes these ridges so that it makes a nice stretchy band for our hat. All right, now I'm going to be changing colors. You don't have to, or you can. I think you should after you do your band, just so that you can see the difference from the band and the rest of the hat, of course. All right, so I did not chain 3, so I'm going to cut my white yarn, and I'm going to bring in this green so that you can see how to do row 5. Really simple. I did do a chain 1 to hold that, so I'm going to pull that out because we want to make sure that we do our next stitch with the color that we're going to be doing this row. All right, so we're going to chain 3, and that's important to do that chain 3 in the color of the row, or you'd have one white stitch there and the rest in green, unless you want it to look that way. Alrighty, so row 5, we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of the stitches around. Up at the top where we always stitch, we're not doing any front post double crochet stitches, just 1 double crochet in each of those stitches, working all the way around our band. Now again, I'm doing a demo here, and I'm using solid colors and ones without any sparkle. That way it doesn't mess with the camera with the sparkles. But my hat that I originally am doing, that is the pattern, I used lots of variegated and sparkle colors. And I'm really encouraging you to do that. Just have a lot of fun choosing your colors. You could even use ombres and, you know, stripe it if you want to, or make it all solid, and just have some fun with this pattern. Because that's what it's all about, right? We need to love what we're doing and have fun stitching it and wearing it and giving them away. All right, so we're just going to stitch a solid row of double crochet in each. Let's do that again. There we go. In each of our stitches, working all the way around our hat. I have completed row 5, just 1 double crochet in each, double crochet around. Now we're going to join to our chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now I'm not changing colors because the way I wrote the hat is I'm doing 2 rows of double crochet that are the same color, and then I'm going to switch on that next row where we have those little bumps on it to give it some fun. Okay? But of course, you can change your colors as often as you want. Remember, when you are changing colors, do that next stitch or that first chain 3 in the same color that you're going to do that row in. All right? All right, so now I've chained 3 and I'm just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of my double crochets all the way around. And that will give me 2 rows of a solid double crochet. Alrighty, so 1 double crochet in each, working all the way around our hat, and then join back to our chain 3. I have completed that second row of just 1 row of solid double crochet. So we have 2 rows there. All right, I joined to my chain 3, but I'm not going to chain 3. I'm going to be changing my colors. If you're bringing your color back in, you can always carry that up on the inside of your hat. But since I'm changing colors a lot, I'm just cutting mine, and I'm bringing in this red. It is a variegated. It's got some green and pink in it and some other colors. But I'm using the red because I want you to be able to see how we do row 7. All right, so we're going to go right in that first stitch and stitch a single crochet and then a single crochet in the next, and then in the third stitch we're going to stitch a triple, or what some people call a treble. So we're going to put 2 wraps on our hook, go in, pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over and go through that third 2. Now you may have to push that forward. Then we'll go to the next stitch and stitch a single crochet in the next 2. And see how that forms a little bump? All right, so we'll do that again. 2 wraps on our hook, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, go through the third 2. And then we'll push that forward and stitch a single crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. And so that is our repeat for row 7, and we'll do this all the way around our hat. And this just gives us a fun row with a little bump and also pops of a different color. Now on my original hat, losing my mat here, I did this row in variegated, and it's really, really cute. And of course I use a lot of different colors, and I'll show that to you again when we get a little farther on. But for the demo, again, I just wanted to use colors that didn't have any sparkle to it or harsh colors that are hard for the camera to see, since we're changing colors so often. All right, I'm going to turn this a little bit so you can see how those bumps look. All right, and so what we're doing for row 7 is we're stitching a triple, or what some call a treble, and then 1 single crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. And we're doing this all the way around our hat. And I always just give it a little push with my finger to make it go to the front. But if they go to the back, you can also just push them through. It's not a problem. Say this was the front, you could always just push that bump to the front. Now it's in the back, but we want it in the front, so we'll just push it to the front. Isn't that cute? All right, so we'll just do this all the way around for row 7. I have completed row 7, and you can see all those little treble or triple stitches with our 2 single crochets in between. All right, so here we did our last triple. It went to the back. Let's push it out. And I cut my yarn, and that's because I'm going to be changing colors. And I really do recommend that you change colors between your 2 rows of double crochet and your row of single with the triples, because now we're going to do 2 rows of double crochet again, and it helps the row with the triples really stand out. And that's really what we want it to do. All right, so I brought in my next color. I'm just using this pretty gold just so you can see how to do the stitches. And all we're going to do is just stitch 1 double crochet in each of those stitches, working all the way around. All right. So we're just repeating what we did down here on row 5 and row 6. 1 double crochet in each of the stitches, working all the way around, and we're going to do this for 2 rows. And I want you to see how it makes that row 7, where we did those triples, how it really makes those stand out and makes it really pretty and also a lot of fun. All right, and I'm really liking these fun colors too compared to the other one that I did. I may have to make this one as well because this is my demo, but I'm really liking how it's going. All right, so we're going to repeat row 5 and row 6 for 2 more rows, which is 2 rows of solid double crochet. I have completed those 2 rows of solid double crochet just like we did down here, and you can see how pretty that is with that row in there. And so the next row that we're going to do is a repeat of this row. And so what you're going to do for 6 more rows is you're going to repeat these 3. So you'll repeat this 2 more times. You'll do a row of the single crochet triples and then 2 rows of double crochet, and then you'll do that twice. Now, if you want this hat to be even longer, say you want to make it into a long stocking hat, before we start the decrease rows, you can do as many repeats of these as you would like. And so what we're going to do is we're going to repeat row 7, row 8, and row 9 2 more times, or for, of course, 6 more rows. Or more if you want a longer hat. If you want it to be more of a slouchy, do it again. If you want it to be even longer, repeat it for as many times as you want to, and then we'll do the decrease rows. So here is my actual hat, and you can see I have repeated that twice. That brings me up to row 10. Here's our last row of our single crochets with our triples. I don't know if you can see those. There we go. And then 2 rows of single crochet. Well, we need to do 1 more row of our triple stitches. And so I'm going to use this white. This is, again, my actual hat. And so we'll go ahead and do that row with our 1, 2 single crochets and our triple or treble stitch. Because we want to end on a row of our single crochet and triple stitches. That's where we want to end before we start doing our decrease stitches, okay? So if you added more rows, make sure you end on the row with the 2 single crochets and the triple stitch. Okay, and again, you can add as many rows as you want to. You might want to add just a couple more to make it more of a slouchy hat, or you might want to add several more to make it a longer stocking style hat. All right, and then once we finish this row, on the next row, we're going to begin doing our decrease stitches. And I'm hoping you're really enjoying making this hat because I just love how it turned out. I wanted it simple and playful. And again, you could see by that demo that I was doing, just by using different colors, you get lots of different looks. All right, so I'm going to continue doing this row around. 2 single crochets and triples just like we did on these 3 down here. and then the next row will start our decrease stitches. So I have completed that last row of our 2 single crochets in our triple or treble stitch. Again, I just really love this hat. I think it is just adorable with how the stitches worked out. And of course, this is the one that I'm doing that is my actual hat pattern. Although I really love the demo with the bright gold and the bright green, I think I may have to finish that hat as well. Okay, so now we're going to begin our decrease stitches. I've already hooked on my next yarn. I'm using variegated, but it is a little bit longer variegated, so I think you're going to be able to see everything just fine. All right, so I joined to my first single crochet, getting everything squared away back there. Make sure that's snug as a bug in a rug. There we go. All right, so we're going to be doing similar in having 2 rows of double crochet, but they're going to be 2 rows of decreases. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to begin with stitching the first 2 double crochets together in a double crochet decrease. So yarn over, go in that first stitch and pull up a loop. Then we're going to go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through the first 3, yarn over and go through the last 2. So we've decreased by 1 stitch. We stitched the first 2 single crochets together. Now we're going to stitch a double crochet in the next stitch. Now we're going to repeat our decrease or stitching 2 double crochets together. And then double crochet in the next. And so we're alternating stitching our next 2 double crochets together and 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Now remember, this row is after you've done as many rows as you want for as long as you want your hat. Now this is a loose fitting hat, so you might want to try it on before you decide if you want to add or more rows to it. All right, so we're going to stitch the next 2 stitches together in a double crochet decrease or stitching 2 double crochets together. Whoops, there we go. And then 1 double crochet in the next. And we're going to repeat this working all the way around the top of our hat. And this goes pretty quick once you get the hang of it. I have completed that row. We did a double crochet decrease and then a regular double crochet, which again is 2 double crochets together and then 1 double crochet all the way around. You can see it brought it in some. We joined back to our first stitch and chained 3. And now we're just basically going to repeat what we did on row 17. All right, so we have a chain 3, so we're going to double crochet, decrease, or stitch the next 2 together, and then we'll double crochet in the next. And then just repeat 1 regular double crochet and 1 double crochet decrease, or stitching 2 double crochets together. All the way around. And then when we complete this row, we'll gather up the inside of the hat, make sure all our ends are weaved in, and then we'll make that big, wonderful pom-pom. And I know I keep talking about that pom-pom, but it's what makes this hat super duper fun. And I'm going to show you a really easy way to make a big O pom-pom. All right, and so you can see how that's pulling that in even more. And again, we're repeating double crochet decrease with the next 2 stitches, regular double crochet all the way around, and then we'll join back to where we started at that chain 3. I have completed row 18, where we just really repeated row 17 1 double crochet in the next, stitching the next 2 together in a double crochet decrease all the way around, alternating. All right, and so I join back to my chain 3, and we're going to leave a tail of yarn so we can use that tail of yarn to gather up the top of our hat. 12 to 18 inches. I always give myself more than I need, just so I have enough to make sure it's tightly secured. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tie this off, and I'm going to put that inside, and I'm going to flip the hat over because it's the easiest way, of course, to sew it closed, but also I want to show you on the inside here, I changed colors quite often. Some of them I cut and some of them I carried, and it just depended on if I was going to be bringing that color back in. I brought white back in up here, but I used it down here, and I didn't want to carry it all the way up. All right, and so I'm going to weave in my ends, but I'm going to do that after I show you how to gather up the top of the hat. All right, so I've just got my needle here. And it's really simple. Just go in and out the tops of those stitches that we just stitched, because we don't want it to be bulky up here. We want it to gather up nicely. So we're just going through those stitches all the way around. And I like to do this on the inside of the hat so it's nice and secure. Oops, came off my needle. There we go. All right, I'm back where I started. So I'm going to go through those stitches one more time right there. Give it a good hard pull. All right, and I like to make a loop right there. Oops, there we go. See how I made that loop? I'm going to give it another good hard pull and then pull that loop nice and tight. All right, now what I like to do is push this down and just go across a couple of times. That way and that way, just to make sure it's nice and snug. And then I do what I call a loop bow or a loop knot, and it's my own term, it's nothing technical. I just go into some stitches here. All right, I'm going to pull this out, and then we're going to take these two, this loop that I made and this piece of string, and tie that knot nice and securely. Because I do not want the top of my hat coming undone. That could be really embarrassing. And plus, we need it to be nice and secure if we're going to add that big old pom-pom. All right. All right, so now I'm just going to take, oh, let me turn this over first so you can see how nice and closed that is. All right, so I'm just going to take a few minutes here and weave in all these ends, and then we're going to make that pom-pom. So my hat is all tidied up inside, and of course we closed the top, and it's adorable this way, right? I mean, it really is, but it needs a big pom-pom to be super adorable. All right, so I've cut a long piece of green here. It can be any color. This is what you need to attach it to your hat, and of course to hold the pom-pom together. And so I've got about maybe 18 or 20 inches here, maybe more, and I folded it in half. You want to have one end with the loop and one end open. Okay, and now I'm just going to use my hand to make the pom-pom. So I'm going to hold the strands here, and I'm just going to start wrapping it around my hand. And I've got lots of different yarns here. I've got green sparkle, red sparkle, white sparkle, some different variegateds, all colors that I used in my hat. And I'm just going to keep wrapping this around and around and around and around until I'm happy with how thick it's going to be. Now, it's okay if they get twisted a little bit, but don't let them get knotted up. And you may have to let those drop down sometimes in order for them not to get knotted up, all right? And so I'm just going to continue to do this until it's super thick. Now, I don't really have any way of telling you how to measure this. My hand is like probably a little bit smaller than the average size woman's hand. I do have small hands. But anyway, it's kind of up to you. You can use a pom-pom maker. You can use a piece of cardboard that you've measured. But I want this just to be big and floofy and a little bit unmeasured. Okay, and so I'm just going to continue to wrap this until it's big and thick. So I continued wrapping until I ran out of some of them, and then I kept going with my variegated and some of the other, adding in some other colors. It's really thick, nice and big and thick. All right, so now I'm going to slide this off, and I'm going to take this piece that we cut ahead of time, and I'm going to slide that in. And pull those strings through that loop. All right. That's a lot of yarn to cut, but remember, this is going to be a floofy type pom-pom. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tie that knot because we want that to stay held and give it a nice, good, hard pull. I make that a little bit bigger there. Make it nice and tight. All right. Now, this is the piece that we're going to attach it to the hat. So now I'm going to grab my bucket here and we're going to go ahead and cut all of these. And remember, this is a floofy pom-pom, not a nice rounded pom-pom, because this needs to look fun and festive. If you want it to be thicker and more rounded, add more and more yarns as you're holding it in your hand. All right. Before you add that string that's going to hold it. I'm trying to make sure I've got all the loops there. All right, so now I'm going to take this and pull it this way. You can see there's some loops there that I missed. And we're going to start just trimming it. That's why I said you're going to need a good pair of scissors, because we're going to be cutting a lot of strands of yarn. Now, the other thing is it doesn't have to be perfectly rounded, perfectly even. You want it to have a little fun to it. Unless you want it to be perfectly even and perfectly round. All right, I'm going to see how that looks. Okay, those strands are still just a little bit too long for me. And so I'm going to cut them again. All right. And I think I'm going to go about another inch. I don't want it quite that long. Giving my pom-pom a haircut here. Let's go this way. You see all those colors in there that I chose. Let's see it now. Oh, that's much better. Isn't that fun? Now, if you want it shorter, trim it shorter. It's totally up to you how you want this to look. And I love it. I love floofy pom-poms. And I don't want this to be like perfect. I want it to be fun. Okay, you can also make curls. You can also add beads. You can add bells, whatever you want to your pom-pom. All right, I'm going to grab my hat here and see how this looks, just to make sure I don't want to trim it anymore. Let's see. Nope, I don't want to trim it anymore. I love it. All right, so we'll just take it like this. We're going to take our crochet hook and go up under here. And you want to kind of go next to it and grab one of those strands. Oops, missed. There we go. All right, I'm going to pull that in, and then I'm going to go across and grab the other strand. All right, let's go inside here. And here is the center of our hat, and we're going to make some nice, snug, tight knots. as we don't want that hat to come off. Make sure that's tight. There we go. We don't want that pom-pom to come off. All right. I'm going to give it one more good knot, just in case. All right. All right, now there is my floofy pom-pom. Now again, if this is not the style that you like, you can trim it shorter. You can add more wraps around your hand. You can use a pom-pom maker, or you can use a piece of cardboard that you've measured. And so this is our Christmas ugly sweater hat, or scrap happy hat, or whatever hat you want to call it, because you don't have to do Christmas colors. I just absolutely love how it turned out. I love all the Christmas colors. I love how the stitches look, and I'm loving that floofy pom-pom.